So without further ado, let's look at some code. You can find the code that we're going to review in a zip file that accompanies this video on the ThinkGeo website in the developer blog discussion forum. It's important to note that to compile the code, you'll need to have a full or evaluation copy of any of the Map Suite 3.0 products. This includes the Services Edition, desktop, or web. And when you open the solution, you'll need to make sure that you reference the Map Suite Core DLL. Otherwise, the project is going to fail to compile. So let's look at some code. Here we are in the code, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at 3 different sample styles that we've created, and you can find this code in the developer's blog area under the post for the Extending Map Suite Style video. What we have here in our solution is that we've got our cached value style, which is one of the examples we're going to look at, the size point style, a test form, and the time-based point style. What we're going to be focusing on right now is a size-based point style. So to set up our sample, what we've done is in the form load, we've created a few layers. We created a world layer as kind of a backdrop, and we have the world capitals layer. And we'll be using the world capitals layer for all the different samples. But to note, we've created it, but we haven't actually applied any styles. We've set the zoom level apply until to zoom level 20, but we didn't set any styles on it. The next part is that we're going to have a button that goes ahead and activates the style. And here it is for the size point style. We're going to find the world capital layer that we set up in the form load, and we're going to create a size point style. And what we pass into this is a point style, a size column name, and a ratio. So here what we're doing is we're creating a simple circle style that's blue. We're giving it a size of 1, and we're saying that we want to base the size on the population, which is a column in the DBF for the shapefile, and we're saying that we want one size of blue point for every 1 million of population in the shapefile. We're then going in and we're clearing the custom style since we use this same sample over and over again, and then we're going to set the size point style and draw it. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. Okay, we'll click it here. And as you can see, the countries that have world capitals that have high population are represented by bigger blue circles. So you can see Mexico City is quite a large one. Also here in Japan, Tokyo is rather large as well. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at what the code looks like to create a style like this. So let's take a look at that style. It is going to be the size point style. And what we have here is we've got a couple of variables at the module level. We have the point style, the ratio, and the size column name. We have a constructor here that allows you to pass in some of the values just to be helpful. The point style, which is what you're going to set, and then we're going to manipulate its size when it actually draws. The ratio, again, if there was a population of 7 million and we set the ratio of 1 million, then you're going to get a size 7 circle. And the size column name, the one that we want to base the value of the ratio on. So here we are in Draw Core, which I mentioned before is the one thing that has to be overloaded. And what we do is we're going to loop through all these features. And for each of the features, we're going to get the size data. So we're going to go into the feature. We're going to grab the size column name. And then we're going to take the size data, that value, and divide it by the ratio, and this is going to be our new symbol size. So then simply what we do is we take the point style, which the user's already provided us, we set the symbol size, and then we're going to call the point style.draw, and we're going to pass in all the different parameters that were passed into us. So really what's happening here is that we're proxying off the drawing to the point style, and the only thing that this style actually did was manipulate a particular value on that point style to get the effect that we wanted. The other method that we overloaded was the get required column names core. And here we're going to grab the column from the point style, because the point style itself might have columns that it needs. And then we also need to add the size column, because we're going to need to pull those values back as well. So here we create a column collection. We go ahead and grab the point styles get required column, so that's going to bring back any required columns the point style needs. We're going to make sure that it hasn't been added already, or we're going to check actually the size column name, and we're going to add it if it hasn't already been added. And here we're going to override the draw samples core, and what we're going to do is we're simply going to use the draw sample of the point style that the user provided. So you want to make sure to set the point style size, the size that you want it to draw in the sample. And that's really it. So you can see how it's not very much code at all to get basically a style that scales with your data. So it's really important that you know your data and you understand it, so you don't get really crazy sized symbols. But a person could have easily have done this point symbol with a star or a box or anything else. So let's go ahead and move on to the next sample. This next sample we're going to look at is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and run the sample again. And we're going to do the time points. And here what's actually going to happen, let's click it, is that we're going to show all of the capitals, but we're going to base their renderers on what time it is currently right now. So as you can see, currently it looks like it's nighttime pretty much everywhere in the world except for East Asia. And the way this works is that we take the world capitals, and each one has a time zone. We take the local system time and we apply the time zone to it. And as we're looping through each feature, we figure out if it's daytime or nighttime, and we adjust the renderer accordingly. So let's take a look at what this takes to get set up. We'll go back to the test form. And here's the time points. What we do is we grab that world capital layer, just like we did before. We create our time-based point style. We set the time zone column name. Here we have time zone. We also set a daytime point style and a nighttime point style. So you can see in this example that the daytime point style, we have it rendered in yellow, size 8, and for nighttime we have it as gray, size 8 as well. This could just as easily be an icon or anything else. We then go ahead and clear the custom styles because we're reusing this, and we set the custom style. Let's actually go ahead and look at the code for this, and let's see how this all stacks up. You'll be surprised to know that actually it's very little code to do this, even though it's a really cool effect. And what we have is we have our daytime point style, nighttime point style, time zone column, a couple constructors to make it handy to set these. And then in the draw core, again, we're going to loop through all the features that were passed into us. We're going to grab the column value, time zone column name, and we're going to set that to this offset to GMT. Then we're going to grab the datetime.utc now, and we're going to add the GMT offset to it. That's going to give us our local time for this particular feature. Then we just simply check, if the local time is greater than basically 7 a.m. or earlier than 1900 hours, then we draw the daytime point style, and if it's not, then we draw the nighttime point style. And here again, we're not actually even doing very much drawing ourselves in this style. We're proxying the drawing out to these other styles. We also overrode the get required column names, and inside of here we've got to do a couple of different things. We need to grab any columns that the daytime style might need. Again, this style could actually require its own different sets of columns. We also need to grab the nighttime styles columns that it may need. And then we also have to make sure that we add our time zone column name to request that as well. Here we also overrode the draw sample core, and this is an example of how sometimes it's difficult to find a good sample to draw. In this case, we have a daytime and a nighttime point symbol, but we can only draw one on the canvas. And in our case, we did the daytime point style. Let's go ahead and run this again. And what's kind of interesting about this is that when we click the time points, actually, if we were to just refresh this automatically, these points would start to change, based on the current time wherever they're at. So you can use this for asset tracking type stuff, where you want to see if the asset being tracked it's at night or during the day, especially if you're tracking assets globally. There's all kinds of time stuff you can do. You can say if the unit last reported more than 4 hours ago, then use this style. If it reported, less than 3 minutes ago, use this other style. And you can calculate these things and create some really powerful styles.